Shalom, everybody. I'm going to resume my series on gender. This is actually part 6, and I'm going to call this The War on Children. Take heed that ye despise not one of these little ones. For I say unto you that in heaven their angels do always behold the face of my Father which is in heaven. Matthew 18:10. And again the words of Jesus. Then said he unto the disciples, It's impossible but that offenses will come. But woe unto him through whom they come. It were better for him that a millstone were hanged about his neck, and he cast into the sea, than that he should offend one of these little ones. Luke 17:1 through 2. The world of pagan sexual anarchy that our blind cultural leaders are intent on plunging us into is a very harsh world for children, because the evil spirits that animate the movement utterly hate the innocence of little ones. The left has made war in the West on the very idea of being fruitful and multiplying as the Creator originally commanded the human race, and has never revoked that command. We have shown in a previous article how the birth control pill ushered in the self-centered sexual revolution, liberating promiscuous men and women from the, quote, burden of possible fruitfulness in sexual activity. Ultimately, the birth control ethos led directly to the unholy sacrament of abortion. I'm not being sarcastic. I believe abortion is a religious act. It is an expression of pagan leftism and one of the chief sacraments of the new worship of Moloch, now called choice. Abortion is religious, and it's a human sacrifice. Thus, we've developed a strange love-hate relationship with children in this adulterous generation. The hatred of children should be obvious, not only by the undying abortion industry, but also by the lengths people will go to not to conceive. Through birth control, even married people seek to control the number, timing, and even the gender of the children they, quote, choose to have. I know a good many couples who thought they had it all planned out. They were going to spend X number of years as a couple, then after paying off this loan or obtaining that degree, they would have 2 or at the most 3 children. But though the plan seemed sound enough, humanly speaking, by the time they arrived at that point, they found they couldn't have children. That's right, barrenness is an increasing problem in the Western world. They didn't take it into account that people aren't rabbits. We can only conceive in the conditions God allows because conception and birth belong to God. The love of children in this generation is also often skewed. This generation imagines that the few children they will allow themselves to have are going to have a perfect life. There seems to be no middle ground between either preventing or outright killing children in the womb or idolizing them, lavishing them with everything but real attention. Both parents work. The child is in the daycare as soon as possible and pre-enrolled in preschool and in some cases pre-preschool. Idolatry isn't love. In the name of unconditional love, children are often raised without limits. Their self-esteem is elevated. Spankings for disobedience are verboten. Parents are taught never to criticize and constantly to praise their children. In our schools, everyone gets a prize in any competition. There can be no losers. Girls are taught to act like boys, and boys are literally drugged by things like Ritalin from early age that they might be as compliant in class as the girls are. That there is a war being waged on the innocence of children, there could be no doubt. Public schools, which absolutely fail for the most part to teach reading, writing, and arithmetic and geography, are absolutely intent on imposing the philosophy of sexual anarchy on children as young as 5. Children are now being pressured by LGBT activists to question their own sexuality and even to assume or experiment with different gender roles. In a time when the nightmare of child abduction and or sexual abuse by perverted adults saturated with legalized pornography, another left-wing success, by the way, is a sober reality, access to public restrooms are now being opened for adults of either sexual preference. Why should any child be forced to think about sex at all? Where is there a safe place for the littlest and least among us? Not even the womb, the classroom, or the restroom is safe from the predations of this sick, paganistic culture. The early teenage and young adult years are difficult enough in normal times without injecting sexual confusion, gender questioning, and mingling it all with the concept of civil rights. Sexual degenerates have been able to take advantage of the natural sense of fair play and sympathy for victims that tender-hearted young people have. I think of the, quote, Day of Silence fabrication, in which gay rights activists actually succeeded in making into an annual junior high school and high school event. In the name of solidarity with bullied homosexuals, students participate on a vow of silence for one complete day. This perversion of a holiday is diabolical on so many levels. What student wouldn't want something different to break up the doldrums of everyday school life? Who wouldn't want to refuse to answer the teacher's questions in support of the bullied minority? Another way it's diabolical is that it stigmatizes bullying. Now, I am no advocate of bullying. I hate it, and of course, in the true sense. But this is a conditioning exercise, for it's natural for any human being to be repulsed by any perversion of sexuality. And who says it's good to force children to overcome this revulsion? What is bullying anyway? Is it bullying to maintain a belief that homosexuality is wrong? This is how war has been waged on children in the West. A very sophisticated kind of conditioning has occurred designed to alienate and shame anyone who is naturally reticent to approve of, sympathize with, or participate in the confusion and perversion of gender. We see the results in our universities. Traditionally, a university was a place where young people would be exposed to differing views in the marketplace of ideas. Lately, students in places like Yale, the University of Missouri, Rutgers, shout out distinguished visiting lecturers who went to the trouble to come and speak, expecting at least a hearing. The problem is that they came from a right-wing perspective. A whole new vocabulary has emerged now, which justifies the narrow-minded prejudice of our leftist-trained students. They are resisting, quote, microaggressions or white privilege and seeking to establish safe places on campus where they will not have to so much as hear any dissenting viewpoint. It's evident that the conditioning has had its effect. A good many of our children have been successfully brainwashed. This too is a result of the paganization of the West. The hypersexualization of our day has killed the innocence of those children unfortunate enough to be left on their own or at some daycare or in the care of schools or other state institutions. Not only are they made into good little leftists, unless there's some kind of intervention from above, they are well on their way to hell. There is a generation, saith the Lord, that curses their father and doth not bless their mother. There is a generation that are pure in their own eyes, and yet is not washed from their filthiness. There is a generation, oh, how lofty are their eyes, and their eyelids are lifted up. There is a generation whose teeth are as swords, and their jaw teeth as knives, to devour the poor from off the earth, and the needy from among men. Proverbs 30, 12-14. If there is any revival occurring in America, I believe it's happening at this point, for a good number of Christians have determined that if at all possible, they will not turn their children over to be raised by the beast. They are the fulfillment of the last promise of the Old Testament, and in the line of the parents of Moses, Amram and Jochebed. Behold, I will send you Elijah, the prophet, before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord. And he shall turn the hearts of the fathers to the children, and the hearts of the children to their fathers, lest I come and smite the earth with a curse. Malachi 4, 5-6. May God help us to snatch our children out of the fire. God bless you.